So we are hiking the trails of West Rock Ridge State Park in New Haven.
We are, and it's a pretty area. Lots of woods. There's an impressive cliff face and an amazing view below. There's ponds along the trail. It's a great spot in nature that's pretty close to the city of New Haven. We're just a bit north of the town.
We're also kind of close to the Wilbur Cross Parkway. You can barely hear it in the distance.
And we don't have much further to go. Hey, can you check the map, see what trail we're on?
Yep. All right. It says we're on Regicide Trail. Wait a minute. Isn't regicide the murder of a king?
Yeah, that is the definition.
And they've named the trail that? I should mention, I'm looking at the official park map. This isn't some nickname.
No, that's true. And our destination is just up ahead.
Wow. Yeah, we're looking at a giant boulder that's cracked in a few places. Almost looks like you can go into a small cave inside.
You can, and we will. We're here in New Haven, Connecticut to explore Judge's Cave. It's called that because this rough outcrop of rocks was once home to a couple of judges who were found guilty of regicide. Hey, I'm Jeff Belanger.
And I'm Ray Auger. Welcome to episode 408 of the New England Legends podcast. Thanks for joining us on our mission to chronicle every legend in New England one story at a time. From the wicked strange, to the haunted, to the just plain weird, we love it all. Also, if you've had a strange experience in New England, we want to hear from you. Please email us through our website and tell us a little bit about it. We might even interview you for a future podcast episode. Whether you've had a ghost encounter, UFO sighting, monster experience, or something else, please let us know.
And we'll explore this mysterious cave right after this word from our sponsor.
Now that we're walking around this giant broken boulder in New Haven, I can see there's a few gaps and spaces to crawl inside.
There are. Let's get a little closer.
Okay, now calling this a cave doesn't seem quite right.
Yeah, no, I get it.
It's more like a collection of giant broken rocks. I can see some places where we can squeeze in, though. Yeah, this is a tight fit, but
It is.
There's some room to move around a little bit.
Yeah, but not much. I mean, it could offer shelter if there's literally nowhere else to go. But no, it's not ideal. Still, this was the place long ago where two men took shelter because they were being hunted for a role they played in the execution of a king.
Yikes. Well, that would explain the name Regicide Trail.
It would. And it would also explain why there's now an historic marker on this rock. To find out how it got here, let's head back to the year 1661.
It's May of 1661 here in New Haven Colony. King Charles II is on the throne in England. He's been king for about a year now, ever since the monarchy was officially restored. But his official coronation didn't take place until just a few weeks ago at Westminster Abbey. It's a strange time for England and her colonies. Though the news of the new king is big, for most people in New Haven and its neighbor Connecticut colony, they're just trying to build a life here. News from England feels like a million miles away.
And that makes sense. Colonists here in the New Haven area have bigger things to worry about. However, this is an historic time for the country. Back in 1642, England began a lengthy period of civil war. Parliament felt King Charles I had too much power. They tried to create laws that would limit what the king can and can't do, and King Charles believed in the divine right of kings. There's more to it, of course. Catholicism was seen as a threat. Church of England was enjoying its power, but the gist is, many people rallied around Parliament, many others rallied around King Charles I, and they fought.
Yeah, it was messy for sure.
By 1649, 53 commissioners, including judges, military officers, and other prominent people, signed the death warrant against King Charles I, calling him a, quote, tyrant, traitor, murderer, and public enemy. The king was beheaded January 30th, 1649. And after that, the Puritans under Oliver Cromwell were firmly in charge of England and her colonies.
After Cromwell died in 1658, there was turmoil once again, until last year when King Charles' son, King Charles II, returned from exile and was installed as king once again.
In an effort to reunite the country, King Charles II forgave everyone involved in the Civil War. Everyone except the 59 men who signed his father's death warrant. For Charles, this was deeply personal. The king wanted them all tracked down, arrested, and executed.
Well, that must have been rough for those on the list.
Very rough. For over a year now, officials have been hunting down all of them. Some were found easily and soon faced torture and public execution. Some on the list had already died from various causes, but that didn't matter to King Charles II. If they had already died, he had their bodies dug up, publicly executed, if you can do such a thing to a corpse, and then beheaded.
So if you knew your name was on the list, your days were numbered.
No question. Some stood tall and faced their charges and their doom. Others ran for it. Two of the people who ran for it are William Goffe and his father-in-law, Edward Whalley, both military officers who fought on the side of Parliament and who signed the death warrant. The men sailed for Boston in July of 1660. Goffe and Whalley lived openly in the village of Cambridge near Boston for a little while. And they were welcomed by their Puritan neighbors who were no fans of the king. But once news of the Indemnity and Oblivion Act reached the Boston area, Goffe and Whalley knew they were in trouble. They were wanted men. It's only a matter of time before royal officials find them and punish any citizen who aids them in any way. Goffe and Whalley had to get out of town.
So back in late February of this year, the two men snuck their way down to New Haven. They arrived in New Haven Colony on March 7th and made the home of Reverend John Davenport their temporary sanctuary.
What no one in New Haven knew at the time was that a warrant for the arrest of Goffe and Whalley was signed March 5th. The two men knew the heat was on in general, but now the king has an idea of where the men are and intends to see that they're found.
It's late April. Spring was dusting off from a long winter. While word of Goffe and Whalley's arrest warrant reached nearby Guilford, Connecticut, the governor of Connecticut Colony knew the men were hiding in New Haven, so he did all he could to delay the royal officials in Guilford to give Goffe and Whalley a head start.
It's pretty clear King Charles II does not have a lot of loyal subjects here in Puritan-controlled colonies.
I'd say he doesn't.
So Goffe and Whalley are on the lam. Various farmers offer them shelter for a night or two, but the men have to keep moving. Everyone who helps them is in danger, and neither man wants any harm to come to others on their behalf. It's May 15th when Goffe and Whalley are brought up to a location only a couple local hunters know about. High atop the cliffs of West Rock, the men find this collection of boulders right here in front of us, forming a crude rock shelter. The high position gives them a vantage point, and there's no reason for any royal officials to come looking for anyone up here because there's really nothing else around.
The nights in the pile of rocks are lonely and frightening. Not only are Goffe and Whalley being hunted, but there's the elements too. A small campfire lit inside warms the rocks enough for sleeping, but the conditions are far from comfortable.
Each day, a local farmer named Richard Sperry arrives.
Sperry lives about a mile away. He brings the men food each day. During really bad weather, the men are fetched by sympathetic locals who give them shelter in their houses.
But all the while, the heat is growing in New Haven Colony. Royal officials offer a large reward for any information leading to the capture of Goffe and Whalley. They shake down Reverend Davenport for having ever offered them shelter in the first place.
Goffe and Whalley consider turning themselves in. They don't want anyone to suffer on their behalf. But it's the governor of Connecticut Colony who convinces them to stay in hiding. The issue is bigger than the two fugitives now. This is about right and wrong, standing up to tyranny.
The two men last almost 4 weeks in the cave on the hill. What drives them from their hiding place isn't the king's men, nor the weather, but a mountain lion. There's no negotiating with a predator like that.
Over the next few months, Goffe and Whalley bounce around from farms to houses until they find a safer spot in Milford just down the coast from New Haven. And that brings us back to today. Goffe and Whalley spent about 2 years in Milford, Connecticut, before moving to Hadley, Massachusetts, where they lived out the rest of their days.
Now, today, Judge's Cave is a landmark because Americans like it when you stand up to kings. It's kind of our thing. Another interesting note is that New Haven Colony was separate from Connecticut Colony back in those early days. Harboring these fugitives played a role in New Haven not getting its own charter and instead being absorbed into Connecticut Colony.
So, had the folks in New Haven ratted out these judges, there could be another New England state today called New Haven.
You never know what events alter the course of history. Either way, you can drive up a park road with your car and park right in front of the Judge's Cave today. Or you can hike up Regicide Trail and get here as well. And now, there's an historic sign that's mounted to the rock. A good note to end on. Go ahead and give it a read, Ray.
Okay, it says Judge's Cave. Here, May 15th, 1661, and for some weeks thereafter, Edward Whalley and his son-in-law William Goffe, members of the Parliament General, officers in the Army of the Commonwealth, and signers of the death warrant of King Charles I, found shelter and concealment from the officers of the Crown after Restoration. It closes with, opposition to tyrants is obedience to God.
Amen. The sign was placed here in the year 1886. And that takes us to After the Legend, where we dig a little deeper into this week's story and sometimes veer off course.
After the Legend is brought to you by our Patreon patrons. Our patrons are the best. They've had our back for years, and we appreciate them more than we could ever express. They help us financially with our hosting and production costs, our travel, our marketing, and everything else it takes to bring you 2 stories each week. All we're asking is $3 per month. And for that, you get early ad-free access to new episodes, plus bonus episodes and content that no one else gets to hear. To sign up, head over to patreon.com/New England Legends.
And if you want to see some pictures of Judge's Cave in New Haven, click on the link in our episode description or go to our website and click on episode 408.
Tight fit. And
Tight fit,
not
yeah.
for me.
This cave, air quotes, by the way, looks very much like Leatherman Cave, which is another story we've covered in Connecticut and not all that far away from this one.
Yeah.
Also a pile of rocks, but a shelter, a crude one, but a shelter.
Right.
And if you did light a small campfire inside, it would heat the rock and you would be plenty warm. Keep in mind, they were here, mid-May to mid-June, roughly.
Yeah.
So the weather wasn't probably too bad, although I'm sure some
The nights.
soaking rain,
Oh, yeah.
got in there.
And they really couldn't leave the cave, quote-unquote cave,
Right.
because they were being hunted. They were being looked for, whereas Leatherman could come and go
Right.
as he pleases.
That's right. Very different. So, and not only that, like, you can't draw attention to yourself. So you're not building some roaring campfire.
Right, just enough to heat the rocks.
And you don't want some light glowing on the hill like a beacon, so someone say, "Who's up there?" Right. Every single night. Being hunted for something like that. We've talked a lot about American Revolution stories. This is a century plus earlier.
Right.
And keep in mind, these men were harbored by a lot of different people, which means a whole century plus earlier, they were no fans of the king here in New England.
Right.
Like, it wasn't just, it's a million things that lead to a revolution. It's not
Sure.
one,
It took a while, though.
You can't just say, "Oh, tax the tea." That was what did it. No. It was coming for decades and decades. But here we are, a century plus earlier, and you had lots of people that were just like, "Yeah, no, we're not helping you find someone who helped, have King Charles I executed."
Yeah.
But yeah, what a time. And talk about personal. What do you mean he's already dead? Dig him up and execute him, sir. Yes, sir.
It's all about optics.
Yeah,
Hang him in front of everybody. He's already dead.
Yeah.
But it'll look good.
He's been dead a couple of years. I'm not sure what there is to hang. I don't care.
It's a Weekend at Bernie's type thing. I think they make him move a little bit, like,
Yeah.
"Oh, I'm sorry for my crimes."
Right.
And then they hang him.
And then they hang him. So yeah, they were desecrating corpses because it was that personal. And so, what a weird spot in history. But you have to remember, here in New England, we were England.
Yeah.
That was England. That was our king, or whatever. And the tension was already there because these were the Puritans came here to escape persecution, and then the
Right.
Puritans were in charge of everything. They banned Christmas, which is another story we've covered. They wanted to basically create like a theocracy, which is, by the way, fails every time. None of them have ever worked.
Yeah.
So like, we know how our religion is going to dictate how we run things. And, so then when the Puritans were in charge of everything, they were psyched. This is great. We've got England. We've got New England. This is all perfect. And then there was a new king who was angry. And then suddenly,
As kings can be.
And then people here were just thinking, okay, so we're still under his thumb in some way, but
Yeah.
He's
There's
also-
an ocean apart, but you're still feeling it from that far.
got to pay taxes. There's certain laws and rules that come down, and but when you literally build a new country, you got to feel a lot of independent spirit for that, and just like, don't tell me what to do. You've never even been here. You've never even been here.
You get on a boat, walk in my shoes
Yeah.
on the beach for a bit, then you can tell me what to do.
Yeah, come hunt animals and try to build a farm with all these rocks around here, right?
Yeah.
You'd give it a whirl, and then we can talk. But you've never even been here, and so I think that's that independent spirit was very clear early on, and that rebellious spirit was there as early as the 1660s.
Well, it probably didn't take much for somebody to say, "He's not even close by. We can do it." It's like when your parents go away, but they're out of state. There's no chance they're coming home.
Right.
If they're down the street, you got to be careful. But there's no chance. You call the hotel, they checked in already. We're having a party.
Bring the keg over. It's clear,
Right? Same thing. Exact same thing.
Yeah. There's no difference whatsoever.
They had a kegger while the king was across the pond.
You should be a history teacher. You know when your parents go away and you throw a kegger?
Yeah.
Pretty much just explain the whole American Revolution.
That's right.
It's it in a nutshell. It's that simple. But yeah, no. But the cave is a pile of rocks, really, a giant boulder with broken slabs. But you can drive right up to it. You can literally drive to. There's a little service road in the park that you can drive and park. 20 feet from the rock, and you wouldn't look twice at it except for this marker, which you read it.
Yeah.
Read us what it says, and then you look at that and you go, oh, what a story. There's something there, and legitimately, there's been speculation that because New Haven didn't cooperate too much with this, that when the charters were being handed out, New Haven was denied. I mean, it could have literally been its own state.
Yeah.
There could have been like a little state within Connecticut that we call New State.
Like Maryland.
Right. Or Rhode Island or whatever. Like there could be Rhode Island, Connecticut, New Haven.
Yeah.
But New Haven was absorbed because they were seen as a little bit too defiant for the king's taste. And here we are with only 6 New England states.
Did you know that most of our story leads come from you? Please reach out to us anytime with your ideas. We love hearing from you. And hit that subscribe button wherever you get your podcasts so you don't miss a thing. And if you post a review and tell a friend or two about our show, that goes a long way in helping others find us. Then they share their stories, and the whole thing just keeps growing and growing.
It does. We always need your help. And we'd like to thank our sponsors. Thank you to our Patreon patrons, and our theme music is by John Judd.
Until next time, remember,
The Bazaar is closer than you think.